Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Reselling Rhythms. I'm your host, Adam, with Adam's Exploits. I'm just going to let some of the people fill into the chat and say hello to a few people. Today, we are very fortunate to have a special guest, Kimberly, borderline Hoarderish. So I just want to let the chat fill in a little bit, and the announcements are going out. There's my friend Michelle. Thank you, Michelle. You're always there when I need you. I appreciate it. Our moderator, and we'll hopefully a few more people will fill in. Rebecca, hello. I'll say hello to a few people, and then we'll introduce Kimberly. Hey, there's Miss Tracy. We're just talking about you a little while ago, Tracy. Hey, Craig. So I'm sure Kimberly's seen a lot of people that she's familiar with, so it'll be a nice response to her that all her friends are coming out to support her, and hopefully me as well. I mean, I know she's a bigger draw than I am, but that's another story. Hey, Christy. So yeah, just gonna give another minute or two, guys, and then we'll roll into Kimberly. And what I want to do is it's kind of like Kimberly does a show on Mondays. It's kind of Move Your AS Monday. It's motivational, and I figured, well, again, a lot of the people in my community and then the reselling community have health issues, and we kind of procrastinate. We don't do things when we should. We kind of let our death piles pile up. That's why I feel like it's kind of like spring cleaning. Get to your death piles, get stuff listed, get stuff moving. Hello, Angie. Get stuff moving, get stuff listed, get stuff selling. So it's going to be motivational. So I'm going to kind of like have Kimberly like lead the chat. But basically, it's going to be get all of your ads and work on Wednesday. So I think we have enough people filling in right now. I think we have about 8 or 10 people. So just let me roll in. I'll introduce Kimberly, and then she can start for us. So this is Miss Kimberly, borderline Hoarderish. And Kimberly, why don't you introduce us and tell us your story, please?
Hello all, my name is Kimberly. YouTube name is Borderline Hoarderish, and I see all kinds of wonderful people here already. Tracy, Michelle, Craig, Christy, Rick. Thank you all. Rebecca, thank you all for being here. You guys are all amazing. Yeah, so I do on Mondays a little, I call it Monday or Motivational Monday, move your as with some Z's at the end, because we don't want no potty words on YouTube. No. And I really love it. I used to listen to people on Mondays as my own motivation, and I decided to basically do it myself. One of them being his name's Thrifty Dad. He's a reseller, and he sort of disappeared off of YouTube, and I was sad about it. And this was before I went live, and for a couple weeks, and then I thought, by the third week rolling around, why do I need somebody else to motivate me necessarily when I can just do my own motivational type of Mondays? And because of my friend Todd, the flipping hustler, and his amazing personality and being so organic and just being him and kind of goofy, he's totally my kind of crazy. I decided, well, shoot, if he can do it and I need to motivate myself, then why not try to hold myself accountable and maybe motivate some of you all? That's how that kind of show began. Would you like me to go into my
medical? Yeah, why don't we kind of roll into like I said earlier, guys, I kind of did the introduction about what the show's about. Again, a lot of our resellers are in this because they have health issues. They can't work, whether it be physical or mental health. They can't work a regular job, so they're doing this to supplemental income. Maybe they're on Social Security disability. Maybe they're retired and they need to make some extra money. So I mean, Kimberly is truly an inspirational person, and she has a very heartwarming story. So I figure if Kimberly can do this, we can certainly do it. And she's a model person as far as getting us motivated, getting us moving. So I want her to tell her a little bit of her story more in depth, a bit what she's been through, where she's from, a little bit about her family. Does she have any family members that were involved in reselling? How does she get into reselling? And then once we get that all out and got everybody kind of like motivated and the spring cleaning motivational, we'll kind of just roll into a little bit about what platform she sells on and the typical reselling chat that I always do. But today I want to be like, Kimberly's such an inspiration. I want her to motivate us, tell us her story, and get us, me included, to stop feeling sorry for ourselves and just get off our A's and get working. So Kimberly, please go.
All right. So I was born with a hole in my heart that I was not necessarily really aware of until I hit my late teens, and my heart was racing like so fast that I was passing out. I literally was just blanking out and hitting the floor. And that was when I had gone and gotten a few heart monitors on. And the doctor, actually, after all of that, just watching the heart monitor, and they weren't as high tech as they are now. It was like the style that you had to pick up. You had to have a landline and hold it up, to the landline phone, and it buzzed across, and it wasn't exactly very accurate. And so they couldn't pinpoint exactly what was wrong. And they didn't do an ultrasound, of my heart to be able, or x-ray of my heart to be able to see exactly. They just assumed because it was my senior year and it was during finals, close to finals, that I was really stressed out. And so they just kind of sent me on my way. A couple years later, I got pregnant with my daughter, my beautiful daughter, who is now, well, she's 13, almost 14. I also have an 8-year-old son. When I was pregnant with her, I had explained to my doctor about what had happened to me and how I had still kind of felt, similar and even worse, because your blood volume pumps 7 times more, or not pumps, but is 7 times more when you're pregnant than it is when you're not. And so because of that, the blood was basically pushing through my heart and not going to the rest of my body like it should be. And it was causing a bunch of problems. So they looked into, I went and saw a cardiologist, and somebody did an ultrasound of my heart, and they found out that I, had a hole in my heart. Again, the mapping back then, it's crazy how technology and all the, the medical field has changed so much, but the mapping of your heart was not as accurate back then as it is now. So they had decided that since my daughter was fine, that they were going to not do a heart surgery while I was pregnant to, make sure that she was okay. I call my daughter my miracle baby, because if it wasn't for her, I would have never even found out about that hole in the first place. Maybe I would have eventually, but so after I had my daughter, I had my first heart surgery right at 21, just literally like a month after 21. And it was to cover the hole, and they had taken this little metal mesh piece, which had only been around for a couple years, to cover the hole. And that was when they figured out that the hole, by expanding the balloon in it and seeing how much was really happening by forcing it to have all that blood, in it, was 2.5 inches big. And I remember specifically, even still to this day, moment by moment, the doctor's face when I had awoken from surgery, look at me and just sort of take a deep breath and be like, I have zero idea how you're alive. I don't know. I don't know how you are walking this earth right now. And you would think that I would have noticed earlier in life that I had this, but not to go into great detail, my brother was a preemie when he was born, and he was 6 years younger than me, and he was very, very sick. And so there was a lot of attention kind of going to that. And I just sort of did my own thing, growing up, not realizing necessarily that there was anything different. But the only sign was that I was much slower than all the other kids. And I was fairly fit. It wasn't like I was heavy or anything like that, but I didn't think nothing of it. I just thought maybe it was like I was lazy, or I didn't, run around as much as the other kids. So I had that surgery to fix that hole, and that helped a lot. That did not solve the problem, though. And a month later, I had another surgery to fix the rapid beat. And I was good for quite some time, except for the fact that I have the world's worst luck. And 1 in a million, as always, I was allergic to metal and your heart actually has no nerves, so it doesn't technically feel pain, but because the metal was hitting my bloodstream, it made me very sick. I ended up in the ER a lot for the next year, having to get shots and be on all kinds of allergy meds because my tongue was swelling up and my throat was swelling up so big that I couldn't breathe anymore. Wow. So you're getting the whole story today, Adam. I don't think I've ever told anybody on YouTube all of the details yet. So everybody here in chat is getting a little extra special, or a little something special. So I did okay for quite a few years. The rapid heartbeat part was still sort of an issue. It was not happening enough to be concerned. I filtered through multiple medications throughout the years, but they never worked because I was, sensitive to them and wasn't able. They would do the opposite. Like, for example, blood pressure meds are really bad pretty much for me to take. They do really bad things to me. I end up very sick. So, that wasn't exactly an option. And so I did pretty well for a few years, and then it eventually came back and was even worse. And that was just because I had that hole for so long that it sort of confused my heart on the technical term is a sinus node that's in your heart, and it's basically the electrical side of your heart, and your brain sends messages down to it to tell it to beat, and there's a main node in your heart that it hits first, and then that one tells the rest of those little spots, kind of like an electrical box, to beat. Well, that was broken, and that was why I was having so many issues. So they decided, well, let's do yet another surgery to see if we can solve this. That surgery did not work, and I woke up with a pacemaker. That was that was 4 years ago. I woke up with a pacemaker, and I was pretty mad, honestly, at the entire world. I was really mad, actually, like super mad, because I thought it was very unfair that I was so young and had to, deal with that. And I was like thinking, why me? I tried really hard to be a pretty good person, and I just didn't quite understand. So I went into a pretty dark place. Again, on a story I don't think I've ever really told any of y'all. A very depressed stage, and I had already dealt with depression and anxiety and stuff like that, and been to counselors and therapists, of many groups and all that. And I love that type of thing. I am a pro advocate of people getting extra help if that's what they need to do. So I had my pacemaker. Life was getting better as I accepted the fact of that I had a pacemaker, and I was telling people kind of my story, and I was trying to, force myself to be motivated in life. And I always keep, my kids in my head, but the pacemaker moved because I am thinner up here, and it crushed some of my veins, which then caused some other issues. And I had to have my pacemaker moved again last May. And yeah, there's the whole pretty much story about my heart, but that
in a nutshell, right?
Yeah, in a nutshell. And that's just a little portion of the medical sides, that happened to me. But that's my story, and why I sit here at 34 with a pacemaker.
Okay, now how did you decide that you wanted to get into to reselling? Did you have somebody in your family that was, when you were younger, did they thrift or?
I did. So when I was 14, I had started working at a drag strip or drag racing track here in Colorado called Vandermeer Speedway. I had worked there, and I had done that for quite a few years, and it was fun. It was a great first job for me to do. I had gone above and beyond, and eventually, recognized as working very hard. Well, during those years, that was in the 90s, my mom used to work for Quest, and Quest in the late 90s pretty much tanked and got bought out, and she lost her job. She got laid off. And so she started selling on eBay. And I would help her a little bit. I, dabbled into it. A few years later, she decided to open a consignment shop / like eBay kind of store. And I did work there extra on top of a management job that I had in a restaurant by that point. I was sick quite a few times, chose to leave the management business, and did help my mom like full time for quite some time in doing that. And for years and years and years, she kept telling me, you need to open your own eBay store. I was helping her with all kinds of stuff. She would buy storage units. Her store was like home decor kind of stuff. And so I was always researching things. And we, even as a little kid, were shopping. I was shopping in Goodwill with my parents. I loved it. I called it Big Wheel when I was little. I don't know why. Yeah, I called it Big Wheel. I'm like, I want to go to Big Wheel and get a toy. It was way cooler. You could go there and get 5 toys for the same price of going to Walmart and picking out 1 toy. So of course I always wanted to go to Goodwill instead of going to Walmart. My mom blew out her knee eventually, which was very unfortunate, and she had to let go of her store, and she went full-time eBay and then eventually Amazon. More recently, she did Amazon like, I want to say 6 years or 7 years ago, something like that. She started Amazon. A few years ago, 4 years ago, was working for somebody as a lister in their store. They knew that I was knowledgeable of what could sell, or whatever it was. I've even throughout the years helped people in figuring out what they could try to sell that was worth some money. And still, I did not have my own eBay store. And then after I was listing for a little bit, I finally got my own store. And the rest is history. So I've been a reseller for a couple of years now, and I love it. I'm very grateful for it because it is very hard to, like, when I was a manager for a restaurant, not only did I miss out on my daughter's younger years, my kids' younger years, but people kind of frown upon you when you have to take 6 weeks, 7 weeks, off because you have to have another heart surgery. Or you even tell an employer, and I know you're not supposed to discriminate. You tell an employer, by the way, I'm 34 and I've had 5 heart surgeries. They just pretty much look at you like, yeah, that's not going to happen. So I was really grateful, and I'm still grateful that I can contribute to the bills, do what I love most, which is being a mom and being a reseller all at the same time. I mean, it's amazing to be able to, do something and do it from your own home.
So your mom specialized, and you said she did some storage auctions. When she had the shop, what did she specialize in? Just whatever she found at the storage auction, she would just put some on eBay and put some in the shop. And
right. So she was actually big into buying from auctions, but yes, she did a few storage units, and then also estate clear outs, which was good. And then that was when my days of, as I call it, curb co, or in other words, dumpster diving, began. I figured out real quick that I could find something in one of the alleys on a curb or even in a dumpster, put a little elbow grease into it, set it up in my mom's store, and sell it. Like, I already had the area. I didn't have to pay, to put anything out. She took a small portion of it. Sheesh, Mom, thanks. No. But it was really awesome to be able to do that. And I learned a lot from them because they did anything and everything besides like electronics. They did all home decor. So it was glass, it was dishes, it was pictures, it was art, it was statues, it was tables, it was dressers. And she, it was from antiques to vintage to gently used or even new sometimes. So I was pretty well-rounded. She would have me look things up on WorthPoint. That was like, 10 years, at least 10 years ago that I started doing that. So yes, I should have listened to my mom and gotten my own eBay store a lot sooner, but I always have to do things in my own time.
Right. So now you have a basic store, I'm assuming?
Well, I have two.
Two.
I am going to
That's right.
take,
You told me earlier you have two, right?
yeah, I have two. I am going to be down to one because I'd like to take on other platforms. I just started Amazon at the beginning of this year. And then I also started, doing YouTube, and I really love YouTube. I have such a great time hanging out with everybody and learning so much from others, even just outside of the reseller community. And it's amazing what people have told me, and, trying to motivate people and basically have that no excuse attitude.
So with your Amazon, are you doing FBA or you're doing fulfilled by merchant?
So I had signed up originally to do FBA, but I have not sent in a full shipment. So it's just the merch. And my mom gave me the advice of making sure to have a certain amount of items. If I was going to consistently do FBA. And I've had so many other things going on that I have not. So yes, I do just the merch for now.
Now you're sourcing at like yard sales and thrift stores and
So I
estate sales. And what do you send into? I mean, I have an Amazon account per se. When I first signed up for reselling, there's a gentleman, Jim Cochran, who's like one of the best reselling Amazon courses in the world. In fact, Amazon is reaching out to him to do some kind of training program with Amazon. But it's not cheap, and then I got kind of overwhelmed by it. But with his program, which is nice, it's a lifetime fee. So you pay the one-time fee, and you're a lifetime member, and then they keep adding modules to the units to the module, I should say, and then you can continue. You can buy them in advance if you want to pay for them, but eventually they kind of filter into the main system. So I was kind of like overwhelmed by Amazon when I was trying to do retail arbitrage and trying to find things to ship in through FBA, and I kind of said, well, let me learn eBay. I mean, eBay is a lot more forgiving than Amazon. Amazon is like, you don't mess with Amazon. You screw up once or twice, and they kick you off the platform.
For like ever.
Yeah, forever. I mean, Tracy's here, and Tracy told us what happened with her with Amazon. I guess basically she was doing some kind of drop shipping through a wholesaler or something, and then she can't get back on Amazon. She's banned permanently. I mean, she wasn't doing anything wrong technically, I guess, but through Amazon's terms of service, I guess technically there was a violation.
Yeah, so a lot of the places that I source, even for Amazon, I've been a couponer. I was an extreme couponer when I lived more so in Kansas, and times were a little rough. So I use that to my sort of advantage in the things and knowledge that I have from doing that and being able to source things more cheaply, or just being smart about, making them go together. And also, of course, I live in Denver, Colorado. So there is a ton of thrift stores, Goodwills, places, your retail places, grocery stores, all kinds of Target. There's, you name it, it's here. So finding stuff is not a problem for me on either platform. I'm like you though, and Amazon is a different beast. And if you're going to pick one or the other, I would highly suggest you go with eBay because they are more forgiving. But I like to learn one platform first before I, jump into the next one. So I'm not necessarily the best one to go all for advice on Amazon just because I'm still so new at it. But I have help. I have my mom who has been a reseller and been doing this for a long time. And so she's like my customer service. I'm like, Mom, help me out, Mom. What do you think, Mom? Mom.
Does she still have a store?
Oh, yeah. That's how yes, she does. So she is a snowbird. She normally lives here in Colorado. And then during the winter, she goes and lives in Arizona. So during the winter, she sources more for Amazon. And when she's in Arizona, so she can just send in her shipments. And then she still does eBay, but she looks for less items, higher value per item.
Average selling price, right?
Yes, yes. So they hit, garage sales. She also, does a lot of auctions or liquidation type of things, and buys things in large quantities. Like every time I see her, I'll go over there and she'll be like, "Hey, you want to look under my bed?" I'm like, "What is under your bed?" It'd be like, 1,000 boxes of fabric softener or something. I'm like, "Okay, Mom." But, to each, whatever works. She has obviously done very well because that is their only income. And my stepdad, he just retired from being a truck driver for 35 years. He retired like a year and a half ago, and they are continuing to buy properties, and they are property managers or owners, and they rent out properties. So they know what they're doing in that sort of sense. They've done it for so long. It just kind of, the more and more you do it, the more you can go out and just know, like you see it, exactly what you need to get.
Well, that's a good lesson too, with the multiple streams of income and the various platforms. So, I mean, if you're on eBay or you're on Amazon, or you're on Etsy, you're on Poshmark, be on the various platforms. Again, do as I say, not as I do. I'm basically just on eBay. But if you have an issue with Amazon, you have an issue with eBay, or your sales are slow on Amazon, your sales are slow on eBay, hopefully the other platforms will pick you up. And if you have like a side hustle, I mean, like I said, I mean, we all can't get involved in real estate, but if you have real estate, or you're doing YouTube, or you're doing couponing, extreme couponing, you have something else that's coming in, and you're doing Facebook Marketplace, you can sell stuff on Facebook Marketplace from extreme couponing. So, I mean, that's
local sales. I do local sales as well on top of it, more so during the summers or the nicer weather seasons than when the winter. I notice that people don't do more no-shows when the weather is bad. And I also like to sell things that are larger, and like razor scooters. It seems to be one that I sell a lot more local. I come across them. Usually there's like one little thing wrong with them or something, and I fix it. And I've been a kind of a tinkerer since I was tiny, loving to take toys apart because I've been shopping at Goodwill forever. There are a lot of toys there that are broken. You got to figure out how to fix them. So that's what.
Land of Misfit Toys, like the Christmas show, right?
Yeah, that's funny that you say that, because there's a few of us that literally say we have a reseller island of misfits. We're all a little odd.
Do you run Craigslist ads? Do you run any kind of ads to get these razors? How do you source
I don't use Craigslist anymore. I used to. I prefer doing the Facebook Marketplace, and here's my opinion on why. It's much easier to tell if somebody's real on the Facebook Marketplace than it is Craigslist. And so you can go in and click on somebody's profile and at least recognize right away whether they, if they have just started their Facebook account, and we're in 2019, that should be a red flag for you right away. And you need to be safe about doing local sales. I don't ever like to do them to go meet. If I'm going to go and meet somebody somewhere, I don't do it alone. I also do have. My dad works for a home security system, so when I call them mailbox pickups, or those pretty much mailbox pickups. But I have security cameras, many of them, so that I can see. But I don't like to use Craigslist. I've tried Let Go and those other ones, and there was just too many kind of no-shows. Yeah. So I would rather be sure about, or more sure, reassured. I never give out my address like right away. I'll tell them, when you hit these 2 cross streets, call me or text me. And then that it's not so much of a waste of time sometimes to do that, because, to take time out of your day and wait for somebody to meet you and then they don't show is like horrible. And my time is valuable.
Yeah, eventually I want to get involved in the local sales, but that's another story. But watching like Steve and Steph, and I was watching Bonafide Hustler yesterday. He did a live show, and he was talking about the local sales, and he was saying what he does. He picks, again, I know Steve and Steph do this. They usually meet at Starbucks shopping center. They pick something like 5 minutes away from where they're located, their home or whatever, and then they say, okay, well, text me when you're 5 minutes away. So then when, and you keep in touch with them multiple times during the day to make sure that they are going to show up, they're not going to flake on you. So I don't know why my iPad picked up on my phone. So I don't know why I paired that. But anyway, yeah, so you have them text you like when they're 5 minutes away, and then you go and meet them, say, okay, I'm on my way. So that way you could still be productive while you're waiting for them to show up, especially if they show up late.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to obviously meet in a place that's populated, whether it be at some police stations have areas, public libraries during the day. Now, again, you're right about being safe. I mean, I don't know. I guess I would have to do night deals, but they say like go to like a large gas station that's well lit. Like around us, we have Wawa convenience stores. They usually the mega stores have gas stations, so they're well lit and there's people going out all day. I mean, the people that work shift work going out all day grabbing coffee, and it's well lit and there's video cameras, so you could do a deal there if you had to do it in the evening. So,
yeah, I mean, that's great to be
in the winter.
public...
The days it gets dark earlier, so
it's good to be in a public place for sure. Like I've met a few times in the Walmart like parking lot, like somewhere that's well lit and around a bunch of people. It's unfortunate that there's crazies out in the world, but it's better. And I know that's why people sometimes avoid doing local sales, and there's great money on some local sales, especially depending on where you live.
yeah, I picked up a couple bikes through an estate sale, bike and a bike rack. I mean, there's not going to be big profit. I think I paid like $55, and I figure I could probably triple my money. Figure the bike rack might be worth 30 or 40, and the bikes each might be worth 40 or 50. So like 120, and I paid like $55, or 150, and I paid $55. But again, I mean, it's just basically just cleaning them up, pumping tires up, and I have an SUV. And I just put them in the car, and then like I said, you make a deal and you tell them the price. And again, you always gotta. Again, I'm not really big on local sales. I'm trying to learn it, but you always got to kind of pad your pricing, because they're going to try to beat you up on the price, and when they show up, they're going to try to beat you up on the price. I'm going to say you said it's $50, then you show up there and they say, well, I only got $40. Like, what are you going to do? So you have to have a number in your mind to say, well, if this guy offers me 40. Am I going to accept 40? I'm just going to tell them no, it's 50. We agree to that, and just walk away. So if you're only 5 minutes from your home, I guess it's not that big a deal. I mean, and you didn't waste a lot of time sitting there. But again, that's something that Bonafide brought up. You have to have like your bottom number, and you have to be, stick with it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I mean, that's definitely something I want to get involved in, the local sales. And like you said, and my understanding is it's different in every area. Some places Facebook Marketplace works better. Some places OfferUp works better, but it seems like right now that Facebook Marketplace is kind of like the beast as far as the app selling that has the most traffic, overall in the States.
Yeah, I can agree to that, and because you can also have the groups, and there's local selling groups that you can add to, and then you can easily post to the Facebook Marketplace and have your post list to 5-10 different groups as well. Which is pretty nice. I mean, eBay is my favorite selling platform and probably always will be. And I know that there's hiccups, some bumps and things that happen, but there is through, I think, every single company. But I love eBay. I do suggest for people not to be 100 dependent upon one source of income, because if, for example, eBay, if there's a glitch or whatever happens, it's better to have some other income coming in as well if you can, just so you're not dependent upon that, and then can't pay your electric bill because eBay is being silly.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about David earlier, and David is kind of back part-time now on social media. David, the Thrifty Dad, and he was saying, I think he said at one point he was doing like $10,000 to $12,000 a month just on eBay. Mm-hmm. And he didn't really get into the details, but apparently it's like very, very small sales right now on eBay. So he's getting involved now. He's doing like the decals and the different shirts and things. So he's kind of getting involved in that. But yeah, because I mean, if you're only on the one platform and your eBay sales are down, what do you do if you don't sell locally? If you're not on Amazon, you're not on Poshmark, you're not on Etsy, you're just on eBay, and eBay is not working. What do you do? How do you generate income?
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's a great point. I have always been like, I'm a crafter, a DIYer. I have, in times of needing some extra cash, and this was a few years ago, I made bows out of ribbon that I got on clearance. I had this whole stash of them. Or I made I made teepee art, literally, not out of used toilet paper, y'all. Okay. No, out of toilet paper, I made art, vases, flowers, all kinds of stuff. So you really should have no excuse as to at least not being able to feed yourself, or whoever it is in your household. Because if I can do it, even in times of, having so many medical issues, then you can too.
Now you said you're not on Etsy though, right? But you do.
I'm
crafty
not, and
things?
that's another platform that I need
Yeah, you
to
definitely should be on
probably.
Etsy.
I know, right? Being so artistic, I'm a
Yeah, exactly.
painter. I'm a painter. I love to paint, and I should for sure do that.
Yeah, I need to have somebody on that does, predominantly Etsy. I think Angie does mostly Etsy, but she's very knowledgeable. But yeah, we should probably have somebody come on and talk about Etsy. But my understanding is Etsy is pretty easy to list. My understanding is Poshmark is relatively easy to list. The problem I have with Poshmark is that it's more of a social thing. You constantly have to be sharing your closet, and again with anything, you got to, I guess, you cross post from eBay or whatever into Poshmark, and you got to make sure that you're constantly sharing. Because I guess that's kind of what drives the algorithm when you're sharing your closet. It generates, I guess, views in the store. When you're not generating sharing, it doesn't generate the views. And of course, like with eBay, when you're not listing new items and you're not having any kind of activity, I notice with eBay, when you're selling things, when you're responding to offers, when you're listing things, it kind of drives the engine. I don't have super chat. Thanks, Kelly. That's I was going to ask you guys later. But thank you for reminding me. I want to congratulate Kimberly on her 1,000 subs. She's about
Yay!
1,040 now, right? You're over 1,000.
I
Well over
don't.
1,000.
Yeah, it should. I haven't looked at it today, but yes, I can't even believe that happened. I am far off from my watch time. I mean, I think I have just over 40 videos, so I need to for sure be putting out some content. I do have a few shows that are going to be happening this week.
Yeah,
To
well,
help
just
us out.
remind me because again, you're younger than I, and you'll remember. But I want that was something I wanted to talk about your new show when we're getting ready to to close things up. We're just
Sure.
about 40 minutes now, so I mean, again, I try to keep it to less than an hour, so we'll just kind of play it by ear. And I want you to bring up about your new show that you're doing on Sunday evening. So, but I want to stick on reselling and at various platforms and sourcing and whatnot. Then we'll kind of wrap it up into your your various YouTube shows, and you can tell us about your new show and your Monday show, et cetera, et cetera. Thanks, Kelly. Yeah, I appreciate you guys sharing the links and all. That's and I told you guys I'm going to eBay Open. I've purchased everything other than my airline tickets. The airline tickets are ridiculously high. I'm trying to get it where it's relatively reasonable. I don't have to change planes, even if it's a connecting flight. I don't want to have to deboard. So that's another issue I'm having. But yeah, so I always try to go live when I'm at eBay Open. And now you have to have 1,000 subs. There is a workaround. You can use other software, but I have a hard enough time just using Hangouts. So I prefer just to use the Hangouts if I can, but I have to have 1,000 subs. So I'm hovering right on 600. I was like 602, and I was 601, and I was like 599, and I was like 600. So if you guys can share, I'd appreciate it. Really would like to try to get up to 1,000. That's the end of July. I'm leaving the 21st of July. I'm going to stay there. I think I've told you guys before. I'm going to get there on a Sunday afternoon, and then the eBay Open ends on Thursday evening with a closing party. And I don't want to rush out Friday morning, so I was going to spend Friday there, and then head home Saturday. So worst comes to worst, I guess I'll try to figure out how to use this. It's called Streamlabs. It's kind of a workaround that you can install on your mobile phone and on your PC. And supposedly you can broadcast. I'm going to try to do a couple of test broadcasts on my phone. There's some other YouTubers that use it and that would be willing, I guess, to help me to kind of set it up. So let's get back to the reselling. So you do local sales. You prefer Facebook Marketplace. Do you pick up like furniture? I know you said you do the scooter things. You pick up like furniture and things?
If I had the room, I would 100% pick up furniture. There's really good money in furniture and local sales. Of course, you need to have somebody with muscle behind it because it's pretty heavy and moving around. But
cool, right?
yeah, dressers do really well. Dining room sets do well. The chairs, if they're individual, like it can't be necessarily a kitchen chair. Those kind of, I mean, you can find a million wooden chairs in dumpsters, or in Goodwill. If you've been shopping in a thrift store, you know that you've seen those typical oak looking dining room chairs. If there's 4 of them, that's awesome, because people always like, things in multiples. And then certain times a year, I like to, like, closer to the holidays, that's when dishes and pots and pans and all that does well selling. And so I like to dabble into that. And then I like to use replacements.com, as I haven't done it as much more so lately for a price check, but it does help in kind of giving you an idea also of what to do, or even just to kind of figure things out.
Replacements.com for
Yeah, for dishes, for
dishes. Okay.
dinnerware. There we go.
That was one thing I was going to ask at the end before we roll into the YouTube about. I know Wade always asks, and I try to ask it too. Again, just to plant the seed. I meant to tell you earlier, if you have any kind of websites, like replacements.com is a website, or app to use, just to plant the seed while we're thinking about it, while we're discussing the other stuff. So, okay, well, let's get into again. So you're just on right now. You're just on eBay predominantly. You do a little bit on Facebook Marketplace. And you do a tiny bit on Amazon through Fulfilled by Merchant.
Correct.
So what is your strategy as far as, I mean, I guess your weather is, I'm sure your yard sales haven't really started there, right? It's still kind of chilly out where you are,
no,
right?
Yeah, it's spring here, so it's actually our second snowiest month in Colorado.
Oh, really?
So it's really kind of a hit or miss. Garage sales go all year, though. There isn't a specific season technically, but there are much more, obviously, when the weather is nice. I love shopping or going to garage sales. There's so many of them. And then also estate sales are really a good spot to find some
What do you
good
look for
stuff.
estate sales? Are you looking for, like I said, dishware and that type of thing?
Well, it depends. I mean, it's got to be. I'm not necessarily suggesting everybody to start going and picking out, dishes and stuff, but research every single thing that you do for sure. And go off of the solds. Don't go just, typing in something and seeing that somebody has it listed for 200 and then realize that it's not, it's the only listing on there and nobody's sold anything of them. That should be a red flag. So do your research. I mean, you can do this from nothing. I started selling pretty much from nothing. I didn't have a bunch of money to invest. I started selling from things around from my house. And then I used to do a sort of dollar challenge to myself, or a couple dollar challenge. And I would literally take in change. I'd leave my wallet in the car, go into a thrift store, and take just change and make it sort of a challenge for me to bring back something, worth a certain amount, so that I could in turn, do that and it have more items. So it's possible, I know quite a few people are like, I don't have the money to invest, to start all these things. You don't need, I mean, if you've got stuff around your house, you don't technically need money to be able to start reselling. You just might have to start with smaller things. My house is not very big, so I tend to stick with a lot of smalls.
Right. Well, I know you're attending more of the jewelry auctions, that type of thing, because you're right, smalls make things, jewelry takes up hardly any room, and you can store them. I mean, I have a couple big feet. I have big, huge shoe boxes. I'm going to start putting stuff in shoe boxes and just label it what I paid for it and label it and stick it in those little envelopes in the shoe box. The clear envelopes. But yeah, they're easy to store.
Yeah, there's easy. So actually, I have my little. I was going to show you all a little way, because I don't think I might have showed this for all my jewelry friends, even just to store your own stuff. So I got a bunch of buttons. I do this even when I travel to make sure I don't lose anything. I got a bunch of little buttons. You could buy them even at the Dollar Tree, and all different sizes. And
That's what you're doing to put. That's a good idea.
Yeah, I just stick
instead of a hang card, you're using the buttons and you're putting your
button and
through the button.
They're nice and they're
that's a great idea.
Easy to find, kind of little storage
Super tip.
Yeah, I like to try to be smart
That's
about.
the artsy part of you.
Yeah, I like to try to be smart about storing things and being kind of creative about it. But I don't know.
Okay.
We all learn something.
Do you have a strategy when you go into like a thrift store? Do you have like, and I always ask that, do you have like a system that you do? I guess you're trying to stay away from clothes. I
Shove
mean,
it
what's
all
the
in
bar?
there. No, I do.
You have a
I do.
system that you got to look at certain things. You look at the hard goods first, or you look for certain things in the hard goods.
Yeah,
I know,
I'm
like
definitely
Tracy
a
was saying,
hard good.
likes to look at the bag section first, and then but she tries to stick to mainly hard goods, and she might just run through the some of the clothes. But she'll look. I think it was Tracy that told me that she asked what the color of the day is, because she knows there's a lot of resellers in her area that have already been through like the previous colors. So she looks for the color of the day, so it's all new stock. But again, she tried to stay to hard goods, which I'm trying to get more involved with the hard goods. So why don't you tell us about your system when you source at a thrift store?
I always go for hard goods first. Sometimes I don't even hit clothes because they're not necessarily my favorite thing to list. And it's not because I don't think that there's money in clothes. There definitely is good money in clothes. It's just that I like to, for example, take, if I found this little troll at the bins or somewhere, it would take me 2 seconds to get this little guy listed. And picture wise, you just kind of flip them around. So I like to stick with hard goods. I stay away from things that are hard for me to figure out what they are. Like I won't spend too much time if I can't find it right away, because I literally will take my cart and I'll start on one side of the aisles of, let's say, Goodwill, and I'll go down and, I tend to flock to things that are more unique. I've been shopping so long at Goodwill, I know what is more unique, what is not as common, because I've been shopping there for so long. You see the same thing over and over. It's not going to be as rare if you found it 50 million times at Goodwill. So I'll go and put things in my cart, hit all of the aisles in the hard goods, and then I go over and I find a spot where I have some sort of a background, and I take the items out, put it down, on whether that's a table or something, and I'll snap a picture of it through the eBay app and research it right there. And if I can find it and find the dollar amount, pretty quick on sold, and it's a certain amount, then I'll keep it and go on to the next item. If it takes too long for me to research it, it has to be really special. Has to be something that I guarantee I know that I'm going to make at least a certain amount of, because it's going to take me some time to research it. So if I can't find something right away that I'm like, okay, it might not sell, then I'm just going to put it back. I think you should definitely be respectful. And when you go to thrift stores, not be one of those ones leaving a mess, or peeling off every sticker and all that. I think that's kind of rude to do that. But and so after that, depending on time, I might go and check to see if I can find any vintage T-shirts or scope out hats, or even briefly look through the shoes. I do not dabble a whole lot in all those because they take up too much room, and I'm really trying to stick with a certain, size and amount of things. I want it to be worth my time.
Yeah, I mean, so you're using the eBay app with the picture function now. That's something relatively new within the last year, I believe, right? That you can search by picture. They mentioned that the eBay Open last year.
Yeah, I love that. And if I can't pull it up, then I will attempt to try to find something, just through Google or even through Amazon. It just all depends on the item and how much effort I'm going to put, especially being in the store. You have to try to make your time kind of worth it. I'm a mom at the end of the day, and so I have to pick up my kids and drop my kids off at certain times, and after 4 o'clock we're usually busy, so there's not a whole lot of eBay time for me or any selling platform. So I use scheduled listings to my advantage, and when I price things out, depending on what store you have, it charges you a certain amount to schedule a listing, then I just kind of mentally add that into it.
Like
It's
20
only
cents,
like
I
10
think?
cents.
10
Yeah,
cents?
10s
Okay.
and 20 cents, whatever it is. And I take, to be able to have more family time on the weekends, I schedule out listings and I do them as prime time hours is what I call them, and try to, if I have 10 listings that I can schedule out on a Saturday, then I'll just do one, per hour during the daytime hours. If I only have a couple listings I'm able to list, then it'll be morning, lunchtime, nighttime. And that seems to work quite well. It's that consistency. You always need to be active in any kind of the platforms, especially eBay. And people tell me if
Sales
they,
on eBay, yep.
yeah, they'll tell me, well, Kim, I don't know why my sales are so slow. I'll look at them and say, well, in the last 7 days, what have you listed? If you haven't listed anything the last 7 days, then that might be part of the problem. If you can only list 7 things a week, then list one each day, to keep that activity. If you have nothing to list, then go in and do the delist, kind of relist attitude so that eBay thinks that you're listing something consistently.
Right. What she does, April, is she schedules her listings, so she likes to spend time with her family or children on the weekend. So Kimberly will do X amount of, maybe I don't know what the number is. Let's say she does 30 listings on Thursday and Friday, and maybe she only posts like 10 each day, and then she has like the other 40 that she can post on Saturday and Sunday, and she schedules them. I think she said it's like 10 cents. I don't schedule
Yeah,
listings. I don't know
it's
what it costs.
worth it. I mean, is even it,
Yeah, you're talking $1 for 10 listings.
yeah, it's worth it to spend time.
And you're showing activity every day, and that drives the eBay algorithms, Cassini.
It does. It does. It's a good idea. And then even I like to do auctions like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sundays. If I can only pick certain days, then I'll do it, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I know that people will say that you should do it, Sunday
That's
evening.
down on Sunday evenings, right?
Right. But I don't know how, in my opinion, true that is, because for example, all these people right here in here are around, during the week. There are people that are around during the week and not just Sunday evening. And for me, Sunday evening would be the worst day for me to personally shop. So
Well, if you work a 9 to 5, you're dreading about going back to work. So, who wants to be shopping on Sunday evening? You want to relax.
Right, yeah. So just as long as you do it prime time hours, I'm telling you, if you're going to pick one of them, then do it dinner time out of any of those. That's the best time. And think, if you're on East Coast time, you should do a center time, more of the central base your times off of central time rather than Pacific or Eastern time.
Okay, well, let's roll in again. We'll discuss a couple things because we're getting towards the hour time, and I want to have you an opportunity to discuss your shows or YouTube shows. So why don't you just give us, again, if you have, I know you said you do dishware. Do you have anything like bolos, be on the lookout for that you typically see in thrift stores or yard sales or garage sales, something that you found, since you started doing this with your mother and yourself, you said, well, you would never think you would pass that up typically, but it could be very valuable. Do you have anything you would possibly say to be on the lookout for?
Well, so I use my kids as examples of what sometimes to source, meaning just paying attention to what all their little friends are wearing or what they're talking about or what they're speaking of. Then I also you can easily Google future movies and see what movies and things are coming out, because there's big money in collectible type of items. And you just kind of got to pay attention. Like Toy Story is coming out this summer. How much you want to bet that the price in a whole bunch of those things goes up? So it's like, be ahead of the game and think about these things and source, because it should never be an issue to be able to source something. You just got to figure out how to do it. I like to do things that are unique. For me, I have access to a lot of type of ski things, and
I was going to mention that. Do you sell that locally or you ship that?
I sell a lot of it out. It's more times than not, then I'll source it here local. Yeah, I ship it. There's people everywhere that love to buy, things from some of these ski places, souvenir type of things. They love it, and vintage is usually pretty You can find vintage ones, and think about the things that you liked when you were younger, or things that were special to you, or people are always trying to be sort of creative. You just have to think about being the customer. It's like my Father's Day is coming up in June. I am going to think about the things that people would like to buy during that time period for their dads, and then source that and list that.
Get all your ties up in your death pile, get them up for Father's Day.
Yes, no excuses on the death piles. We were talking about that before, huh?
Right, when you get to the death piles. Okay, so we'll just roll in again. Could you mention that website you mentioned before with the
replacements.com? Yeah, that's what I like to do. And like I said, that kind of stuff, dishes do way better during the holiday season than they do throughout the year. But there is money. I highly suggest you look into it and do your research, because there's good money in dishes. You just have to know, and you also have to be mindful of lighting. Can't be too reflective if you don't have the correct lighting and all that. But you could buy certain dishes for really, really cheap. The older ones have a different feel to them, like more antique ones. They're almost like they just have a whole completely different kind of glaze. So the older is better. Older is better. But yes, replacement.com is a good source, I think, to my mom and I have been using that for a long time.
Okay, was there any other websites or apps that you use that typically, others? I know you talking about WorthPoint. Do you still use WorthPoint?
I do sometimes, and then TerraPeak, but like I said, I've been doing this so long that I sort of know, and eBay does just fine. I mean, eBay finds all kinds of stuff, and if it's something that's a little unique, then I'm going to throw it up on an auction, because might as well, I try not to have.
I was going to ask you too about the auctions. I mean, how do you determine what you use? Obviously, that's unique things. I was told that things that are like you're trying to blow out, you put it auction at if you want to sell for $1.99 or $2.99, set it as low as you can go, plus shipping, and or unique things that you want to drive the price up. So
yes.
So I don't do a lot of auctions. I mean, I'm blowing out some of my women's jeans at $5.99, $4.99, plus shipping, just because I've already lost money on them because I've relisted them or sold similar so many times, and I'm actually, even if I paid $1 for them over these last year or 18 months, I've more than paid that in listing fees for what I'm getting back. But at least I get something back as opposed to just redonating it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I like to do the theory because, again, I don't have a very big place. So things will sit in my house, and after a few months, if they've still been sitting there, then if I can lot things up like similar things, then I'll lot them up and get rid of them. If I can't, if that doesn't work, then I do attempt, depending on the item, to do an auction, because I figure, well, shoot, this is like my last try. But I only do it so many times because that does cost you in fees, depending on how big your store is or how many items you already have in it. So just be mindful. Again, just look it up. Do your research. It takes 2 seconds to look something up to figure out, if it sells. And if you're new and you're questioning it and you just don't know, then don't sell it. Sell the things that you absolutely know or you have a good feeling about. Don't waste your time. And that reminds me of what Thrifty Dad or David would always, say. If it's not a heck yeah, then it's a heck no.
There you go. Davidisms.
Yes, Davidisms.
Okay, well, let's roll into your YouTube channel, your Monday show, and now you're doing a Sunday show with some of your other reselling friends. Why don't you describe your Monday show and then tell us about your Sunday show and the host that you have on, and tell us a little about your Sunday show.
Yeah, sure. So on Mondays at noon Mountain Time, 1 p.m. Central, I do a Move Y'all as Motivational Mondays, and that's just to sort of help you all get up off your behinds and get some stuff done, not only for maybe reseller life, but just life in general. To have kind of that no excuse sort of attitude, doing your priorities first and all of that. So that's what I like to do on Mondays. Just this last Monday, I had Todd. The first time I had a guest on there, he came. I mean, he's the king of confetti and always preaches motivation and positivity. So he was a perfect person to have on there. And then every Sunday, there is a show that's called The Sunday Show, and it rotates between 4 YouTuber resellers. That would be Tommy the Bargain Effect, Destiny, the Shamrock Pixie, Pat, Pat D72. This week it is on my channel this coming Easter, and that is at 6 p.m. Central, and we are doing a mystery egg giveaway, which is pretty cool. And we're going to be talking about a few of our favorites in regards to resellers or YouTubers or just people that we kind of look up to for motivation. And every other week, I usually do a Crazies Come Out at Night episode. I did not do it during my weekend that I went away, but this Friday night, it's going to be a game night, and I'm pretty excited because it's a little more of a chillaxed kind of vibe, and we just kind of have fun, you know, after a crazy week, and just be goofballs and make people smile. So that will be 8 o'clock my time. I know it's a little late, but there's a few people that I really like to watch, so, and I'm not missing out on that. So it'll be 8 o'clock, which is 9 p.m. Central. And again, that's the Crazies Come Out at Night, and we're just a bunch of goofballs.
Okay, well, guys, we're just over an hour right now. I wanted to wrap it up, and Kimberly, if you could just stay for just 1 minute after the show, after we go off. Again, I wanted to thank everybody for coming out. I had discussed, and again, congratulations, Kimberly, for getting to the 1,000 subs. I'm a ways away, and again, I'm trying to get there before the 21st of July. Whatever you guys can do to help me, I appreciate it. If you have friends, tell them about the channel again. So, you know, like the video, share it on your social media. I know some of you said you shared it, and Craig, thank you for sharing. Kelly, thank you for sharing. I'm sure Ty probably shared it. Again, so like, subscribe, share, and comment if you will on the video. That helps drive the YouTube algorithm, so to speak, and I get more views, and more views means hopefully more subscribers. So again, everyone, thanks for coming, and again, like Prof Sale used to say, good sales to you. We will have another show next Wednesday, preferably at the same time, 3 p.m. Eastern. So again, everyone, mods, thank you for being here. Michelle, I got a message from Kathleen. She wasn't feeling well, so she wanted to say hello to everybody. She's fighting the flu, but I'm sure she'll be back with us next week. So again, everyone, thanks for being here. Kimberly, if you just stay for 1 minute, and we'll call it a day, guys. Thanks again. Bye-bye.
Bye.